Warning, there are going to be some, I'm going to use some racial slurs in this video, not because I even really entirely feel that comfortable using them, but I'm mainly going to be using them because this is a movie that, I have some points that I need to make on, some of the racial slurs and, like, the way that they're used. And the only way that I really feel like I'm going to be able to get them across in the way that I'd like to is if I use them in context. So, just as a warning, I'm going to be using them. So, anyway. I just saw American History X, and this has been a movie that I've been meaning to watch for a while. Frequently hailed as one of the better movies in the 90s as far as, like, things that I've seen. Or, like, people that just say stuff. This is usually also considered one of the better, or pretty much actually, like, top 2 or 3 best movies that Edward Norton's ever been in, and stuff like that. It's always hailed as being just a fantastic movie, and I've been meaning to see it for a while, and I finally got around to, and the only movie I can really use as a comparison to this one, in the way that I feel about it, is American Beauty. American Beauty is a movie that I felt had so many really, 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 really fantastic things in it, and it was just brought down just by a couple of just enormous problems that just sunk the whole movie, and I just didn't end up liking it. I don't even really think it's that good of a movie, honestly, mainly because I just didn't like any of the actors in that movie. That's not the point. It reminds me of American History X reminds me of American Beauty, not only because it has American as the first word in the title, but because, it could have been, this movie could have been so fucking good. It could have been so good! And they just, it's so much of it squandered. It's squandered because, oh god, okay. I'm going to start off with the things that I liked. Pretty much I'm just going to start off with the best thing about the movie. Okay, I have never really been an Edward Norton fan. I've seen him in a few movies, and I have ranged from either actually like really liking him to he pretty much ruined the movie. The movies I've seen him in, Fight Club, I don't know if I would say that's one of, like, top 20 favorite movies for me, but it'd be, like, definitely top 30, like, maybe, like, definitely 50, like, top 50 favorite movies for me. I love Fight Club. It's a great movie. And he's perfectly cast in that. He gets to be a little irritating in that one, at least for me, like, at times, but I guess that's the point. And he's really good in Moonrise Kingdom, and he's good in, Budapest Hotel. But I usually find him to be a very unmemorable presence on screen, and there's just something about him and the way that he carries himself that is just unmemorable and often annoying to me. He always felt like up until American History X, I always thought of him as being an actor that was always just kind of like the quiet, the quiet guy on the outside, like a very boyish face, very youthful vitality and stuff like that. But there was always something like really dark and demented inside of him, and that can definitely be seen in something like Fight Club, Incredible Hulk, which I didn't like him very much in it. It's been a while since I've seen that movie, but I feel like if because that seems like he would be perfectly cast for that, but I just didn't like him in it. Red Dragon, same thing with that, which that movie is so good, and Edward Norton, that movie is great. It's a great movie, plus Edward Norton deflates. He ruins every scene he's in. He is horrible in Red Dragon. He brings it from probably like a really high 7 out of 10 to being like a high 7, like 6 out of 10. Ruins every scene he's in, and in that movie has always stuck with me as just being like, yeah, that's why Edward Norton sucks. And anytime I've ever said that to anybody, like, you're right, damn it, because he's fucking blows in Red Dragon. But I've always been told, you want to be on Edward Norton's side, you gotta see Primal Fear, and you gotta see American History X. And I go in like, ah, fucking Edward Norton is gonna fuck up this movie, just like fucking fucked up Red Dragon. I haven't seen that many other movies from '98 that were like that where the leading man was being nominated for an Oscar. I mean, what was who were the people that year? There was Norton, Tom Hanks for Saving Private Ryan, some Italian name I can't remember off the top of my head for Life is Beautiful, and a couple more. I haven't seen that many of them other than Saving Private Ryan, at least. I seriously, Norton should have got an Oscar for this. I really think he actually probably should have got an Oscar for this. He is so good. So, oh my god. Like, watching this movie, I am... Fuck. That's Norton? What the fuck? Like, what... I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, if you've seen the movie, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But it's like, this is not an Edward Norton performance. Like, it's just, I can't even believe this is him. He is so good in this movie, and he totally sells you on every single scene that he's in. He almost makes every scene he's in the movie. Every scene with him is instantly, like, at least, I'm gonna get into this later, but it goes from really mediocre to, like, yes, this scene is awesome because of Edward Norton. And I never thought I would say that, because I fucking cannot stand... There's something about him, and I think everybody has this about, like, one actor, like, more than one actor, usually, but always has, like, that actor that you're just like, I just don't like him. There's just something about them. I can't do it. I feel that way about Jennifer Lawrence, actually, but there's an actual acting reason behind that. Anyway, I'm totally sold. I hated Edward Norton up until now. I guess I need to rewatch Incredible Hulk and just... Holy shit, he's awesome. He totally sells you on the scenes with the flashbacks of when he's a teenager, and you see, like, the main origins of his skinheadness. He totally sells you on him being, like, the psychopathic skinhead. He has a lot of authority to him. He has charisma. He delivers these speeches, and I'm gonna probably get into this later too, that you're like... And I mean, like, don't misunderstand what I'm saying, but, like, the way he's delivering these speeches is like, yeah, he's making some good points about like minorities and stuff like that, and, like, obviously I'm not, like, swayed by this, but just, like, I feel like if you were in any way already, like, kind of racist, and you hear this speech, you'd be like, yeah! Like, fuck yeah! And, like, that kind of stuff. He is so competent, and he just has authority to him. He's great in those scenes, and you totally buy him as the brother who comes out of prison, and he's trying to help Furlong, Edward Furlong, out of, like, just trying to get him to be a different person, trying to make him a better person. He is great in this movie. Where the fuck was that, man? Where the fuck was that in Red Dragon? What the fuck? Just imagine how much better Red Dragon could have been if Norton was actually, passable in that movie. Like, oh god. Fucking Red Dragon. Anyway. So good. He is so tremendously good in this movie, and I never thought I would say that, because I just, up until now, I can't fucking stand Edward Norton. Now, I'm gonna go see Primal Fear, Illusionist, which are already on my list, but I was always kind of kept away from them because fucking Edward Norton. Illusionist, Primal Fear, Italian Job, 25th Hour. I'm gonna see more of him, because if he can be this good, which I've never heard anybody say that about him in any of those movies, but I want to see him just be this good again, because he owns the screen every time, anytime he's in a scene. Owns it. Just terrific. Other good performances in the movie. The mom's good. She's alright. Like, in the main, probably what a lot of people might consider, like, the big dramatic scene of this movie, the scene when they're all sitting down to dinner. She's really good in that scene. She's good in a couple of other scenes. Sells, like, crying and that kind of stuff. Furlong, I've only ever seen in T2, and he was good in there. And you really do buy him as being like this, as this teenager in this one, as a teenager who's kind of like, yeah, I'll just go along with whatever my brother says. I don't totally believe in this kind of stuff. I'm a teenager. My focus and that kind of stuff shifts around, and I just want to be like in. I want to be the in kid who's doing what everybody else is doing, and he does a really good job at that. Like, he does kind of the what I actually kind of did, like, he didn't do it as well, but, like, it reminds me of the Malcolm McDowell in Clockwork Orange, where there are kind of scenes where, when something not very interesting, like, that you would imagine this character doesn't find very interesting, you kind of just see them kind of go, like, just kind of stare off into space, and it's like, yeah, that's what a teenager would do, and Furlong does that, pretty well here. I think he's good. He usually sells his scenes, pretty well. In terms of the actors, that's all the fucking good ones. Jesus. The story, I really like the story. I like, the idea of, like, this skinhead who's coming around, and, like, yes, I understand the errors of my ways. I want to be a more loving and, forgiving person. I want to try to cope with the anger that I feel, and it's a good character arc, and it's pretty much done well. I also appreciate that the flashbacks are usually done in order, I guess, kind of. Yeah, they're usually done in order, unlike with Man of Steel, where it's jumping around so much you can't really get a feel of, like, oh, consistent character, like, it starts from this place to here, but with Man of Steel, it's like bump, 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 bump. We're just gonna keep jumping around, and so you're not gonna have any real idea of what this character, like, really is. Here, they do a good job with that, even though there are times when they jump around, but they do that. They do that well. It's engaging. It's a pretty engaging movie overall. You are interested to see, like, maybe not, like, I'm emotionally, like, super invested in stuff like that. But they do a good job. Trying, like, of keeping you engaged of what's going to happen next, and stuff like that. There's some scenes that are really, really effective. They're like the dining room scene. There are other scenes. I can't name. I guess I can't name all of them off the top of my head because there would be spoilers involved with that. With the dining room scene, very good scene. And I'm about to get into why it is that a lot of the scenes in this movie don't work, but one last thing that's very good about the movie is I think they do a really good job of showing why so many of the people in this town are racist, and like, the dad is giving this speech about, this is why, I'm nervous being at work, because people that aren't, like, with affirmative action, people that aren't as qualified for these jobs are, like, they are the ones that have my back, and I feel nervous sometimes because I don't know if they're going to be able to do it. There are a lot of really impassioned speeches by other people that, like, you do believe that they are kind of, weren't we snorting? With a lot of people, you get, like some of the reasons that they're saying, like, oh, yeah, so, like, they're that kind of racist person where, like, oh, it's political reasons and not entirely just, like, they're, like, of a lower class of people than we are. So I feel like they did a good job at showing, like, why they're racist. There's downsizing going all over. They live in a town that's that has a lot of, like, immigration and stuff like that. So that stuff's done well. Everything else is pretty messy. I gotta say, I was not expecting this. This movie is pretty much ruined by the director. I don't know, I can't remember who he was. I looked him up before I started this video, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now. He sucks! I will never watch another movie from him again. So, I'm gonna have to reference my notes. Awful directing, awful camera work, editing, and you know what, you can say, like, you blame the editor and, like, and that kind of stuff, but oftentimes the director, his job is, it's my vision, and I'm directing you to do it this way. So I'm gonna blame this pretty much on him. Let's see. I feel like a lot of the editing is shit. It's total shit. I can't even believe how weirdly this movie is edited, and I'm not talking, like, scenes, and, like, their placement. I'm talking, like, cutting. If there's one of the things that will always, like, make or break a movie for me is if they have good cutting for me, which is, like, they cut from, like, one character's face, to another character's face, and stuff like that. If it's quick cuts, that frequently will annoy me, and that's one of my big problems, actually, with Batman Begins, one of my favorite movies ever, but it is still, like, a big problem that annoys me a lot, is, like, quick cutting just in, like, talking scenes. And it's like, why are you even doing that? Can't you hold on any scene and, like, have it be dramatic? Because a lot of the scenes that, like, I remember the scene when, like, the very, the portly man, comes into their house, and it's like he, like, talks to somebody, and, like, he looks at them, and it's just like, fuck you, like, fuck you, and it cuts to, like, 3 different shots over the course of him saying, fuck you. I'm like, dude, seriously? Why, like, I don't even understand the mentality of why you're doing that. It honestly feels unprofessional, and I understand that this was very much likely a low-budget movie, and I'm pretty sure that this was a first-time directing for this guy, and it fucking shows. There's a difference between something being low-budget and something being unprofessional. Like, you can be low budget, but you can still look, like, make it feel like it's made by a professional. Like, Psycho is not a movie that was not a movie that had a very high budget, but it was made by Hitchcock, and he made it look really good, and like, the editing is good, and, like, all, like, shots and stuff like that are good. Here with American History X, it really feels unprofessional, like this guy just did not know what he was doing, and so beyond editing, camera work is, again, terrible! It's so bad! I remember there are way too many close-ups. I understand the point of close-ups is to be, like, in the character's face, like, really be in their personal space to, like, kind of, like, really be up there with the emotion. A lot of times I feel like people don't get that right. Even in scenes when they're not supposed to be intense and, like, showing the characters, their emotions, it's just like, it's like the scene when the big guy comes into the house, and it's just like, it's just fucking close-up right here on his fucking face, and you're like, get the camera away from him! Jesus Christ. And it's distracting. It's so distracting. Like, why are we looking at this close-up? Why is it, like, get the camera away from them? This isn't an intense moment. It just looks awkward and silly. Other than that, I can't even believe that this is... I couldn't even believe this. I could not believe that this movie did this with the camera work. There are times when the people that they're focusing on go out of frame. The camera misses them. That's fucking Birdemic stuff. How do you do that? How do you do that? Fucking try. Try to get them in the frame. For God's sake. I remember the scene at the end, and I'm not gonna spoil anything, when 2 characters are walking across the street, and you're like, it's like, it's missing the top of their face as they're walking across the street. Not only that, there's also points when I feel like the camera guy is kind of like oh, I guess it seems that, wait, no, it's not. I'm just going to keep following them. Because it looks like he's putting the camera down a little bit. And the scene when they're walking across the fucking street is the camera's kind of going like this. Is some fucking, not exactly shaky cam, but just, it's weird cinematography. But it's kind of going like this. And it's kind of holding, they're holding on a shot of these two characters going along. And they're almost out of frame. And it looks like, for like a split second, you can kind of see the camera go like, oh, wait, like, oh, I need to try to catch them. But it cuts right there because it's like, oh, we just gotta make it look like the guy didn't fucking forget that he's missing the characters? And it's just, it's like, you couldn't reshoot that. You could not reshoot that. Really? God damn it! Fuck! This is so, it's so unprofessional, some of the ways that this movie is shot and edited. I feel like it just feels underfunded the way that it's shot. And again, you know, I don't have a problem if a movie's underfunded, but it's the filmmaker's job to try to not distract you that the movie's underfunded. I remember, Love in the Time of Hysteria. You don't really think about the fact that the movie only has, like, maybe 6 sets or something like that. You're thinking, oh, I'm not really thinking about that because it's just, that's the movie. And you don't think about that until the end of the movie. You're like, oh yeah, I guess they did a good job of shooting around that. This movie does a terrible job of showing the fact that they just, it just really feels like they don't even know what they're doing. Like the director, I will entirely blame him for this because fuck you, man. You suck at some of the way that you're shooting and editing this. I was furious at this fucking movie, especially at that walking across the street scene. I was stunned that, like, really, I could shoot that better. Me, I have never shot anything in my life. Well, I have, like, 2 times. Anyway, I could shoot that better. Are you fucking kidding me? Fuck me. Beyond that, other problems that, like, I'm getting really angry about this. It's just that, it's a movie that's just so good, and it's just bogged down with, like, stupid, ridiculous, preposterous shit that shouldn't plague any movie at all. This movie does. The acting and dialogue, I'm gonna get into that now, with that, looking at the notes. Yeah. I'm gonna start off with the actors. So, this will also kind of play in with the dialogue. So many of the actors are not selling me on their performance. Pretty much outside of Furlong Norton and the mom. I'm sorry, I didn't look up her name. None of them sell me on their characters. None. Not a single fucking one. Every single one of them is failing. I'm not entirely sure if it's because of the dialogue, but because the dialogue is bad in this movie. There is some preposterously over-the-top dialogue. Now, I understand that, at least for me, in the way that I see people that are racist, like, the way that they just talk about, like, why, like, so, like, when they say words like, this is gonna be what I'm gonna start, like, when I'm gonna start getting into using those racial slurs, like I said before, like, jungle bunny, and, like, nigger, and like, spick, and, like, they had a bunch of other, very colorful, a lot of other, very colorful words. It always feels like it just comes off as, like, this is goofy. This is just kind of silly. This movie, it's not capturing that in a good way. It's capturing that in a way that makes me feel like, oh my god, this is overtop and stupid. Like, you are just going with, like, the most, just act angry every time you say any kind of phrase. It's just, it comes off like these actors are playing, like, what they feel a racist person is supposed to, no, like, the director is just telling them to act like how he thinks racist people normally do. And it just comes off as cartoonish. It, like, every single time any actor that is supposed to be playing a racist character in this movie talks about, like, black people and stuff like that, it just comes off as, like, it's so not believable. Like, I don't buy any of it. Like, I don't buy that any of them even feel this way, because it's like, especially the worst of all of it is this fat guy who this fat guy who the guy who plays the fat character is horrible in this movie. He doesn't, every single time he's on the screen, he doesn't really sell me in a believable way that he's actually racist. It just feels like an actor being like, oh, you want me to act racist? Then I'll just act over the top racist and stuff like that. And I'll just say a bunch of slurs, which I don't entirely blame him for, because the dialogue isn't very good in this movie. And he's also supposed to be like the stereotypical dick character, but it's like he's acting like a dick in no way that makes any sense. And I mean, like, I know there are people out there that act this way that are just like dicks in the way that he is in this movie, but he's not playing it well at all. He's like, I don't believe any time he's on the screen, and that's for a lot of the characters in this movie. The girlfriend, same thing. Not as bad as the bigger guy, but it's just so stereotyping racist people. It's actually kind of funny in that way. It's comical, and this movie's not going for comedy at all, and it practically ruins every scene that it does something like that in. But Edward Norton will like almost save it. Keyword being almost save pretty much every single one of these scenes. It just, and dialogue with like, and I feel like nobody would ever fucking say this. Like, no one would ever say this is like all in this movie. And there's one, and like another thing that annoys me in movies is just when I don't buy it. When I don't buy characters acting this way or actors being this way, it pisses me off. Like, it just takes me out of the movie. That American Hustle was like that, where it's just like every single time anybody is on the screen, I'm just like, I don't believe you. I feel like you are an actor. It's different a little bit with American Hustle because that's just bad improv, but with this, it's just like you are an actor saying lines, and I don't buy it. Not selling it to me. Terrible direction for these actors, and I'm not even really that sure that they were good actors to begin with, because I mean, I've seen movies where actors will talk through bad dialogue and they still make it work. These actors, I'm just gonna say now, I think these are bad actors saying not particularly good dialogue. So there's that. Yeah. I think the only other real thing I have to say about it is I feel like with the black people in this movie, I find it strange that this is a movie that's trying to show the terror, like the horrors and like that kind of stuff of like lives of skinheads and how that affects their family. I find it kind of interesting that they're not really doing anything to advance the stereotypes that are often there for black people. Like, this is just like the most horrible stereotypes of black people I've ever seen. Like, they're pretty much all of them are like they're always playing basketball. They are constantly stealing cars. They're like, they always have guns. They're always like using like really deep slang. They're always wearing like baggy clothes and like wool caps and stuff like that. And it's just like, really? I would think that a movie that's trying to show the horrors of like being racist and why that's wrong would try to fucking not have these these I'm not gonna call it racist, like offensive stereotypes of black people. I'm just saying like it's really confusing for your message if at the same time you are showing like when they have these speeches, when Norton has the speeches of like you're just letting these criminals like just be around in our country, and they're just horrible people. If you watch this movie, you're like, yeah, they are horrible people. They're stealing cars, they're attacking people, and it's bad. And they're just like always using like slang and just like being mean to everybody, and just like, yeah, in the context of this own movie, I do understand why he's saying this, because all the fucking black people in this movie are criminals. Well, pretty much all of them, except for the principal, and he's at a close second for worst performance of the movie. Jesus Christ, is he bad in this movie, too. Could have been so much more. It just through terrible direction. It's been a while, I think, since I've seen a movie directed in a way that's pissed me off more. I mean, I've definitely seen worse directing jobs, but it's been a while since I've seen a director completely fuck his own movie up this much. This movie could have been so good, so fucking good, and it's squandered. It's squandered by this piss poor directing job. I don't even know. I will never watch anything that this guy fucking directs again. And looking at his resume, they don't seem like anything I'm going to be interested in seeing anyway. So, it's disappointing. It's really disappointing. I'll probably watch this movie again because of Norton and because of the fact that I was very engaged in the movie. Not like super engaged, but I was engaged, and I can't say that it's a good movie. Like I can't do it. It was so close, man. This shitty direction. Shitty direction. Piss poor. Like in that area. I think I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10. So disappointing.